Alright guys, so I'm just going to show you how I edit my videos. Just to start off, trying to frame it so that it fills the frame. Because if it's too tiny, then the thumbnail does not look correct. And then from there, probably going to go into the adjustments. Just to kind of take the color back to where it should be, and then add in some shadows of some sort. So see how I'm kind of red, like make myself really red if I want, but it's not really true to life. So I'm always just trying to like match what the eye sees and then add a little bit of editing to kind of make it a little bit better. So first we went to the hue, now we're on the temperature. See how I'm going from like crazy orange to like somewhat of a normal skin color here. I would say somewhere around there was like real life, or as real as I can get it in this. Sometimes I'll dick with the blacks. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. See how like I'm popping out way more if I go way black, but if I go too much, then I'm fading out the contrast of the image. So sometimes you just want to leave it right in the middle, depending on the shot. So I think about there's should we go back to the middle, and then we're gonna go back to the shadows, because the shadows could do the exact same thing but just in a different way, so you get a little bit more of a realistic contrast to it. If you use the contrast, then it can screw the colors up quite a lot. Like see, like how like glowy I look if I punch it way up, and then if I like go way down, obviously it's flat as hell. So we're trying to like kind of maybe bring the contrast down just a little bit, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the clarity filter wherever that is here. We're gonna punch it up a little bit. See how like makes everything kind of look a little bit more shadowy and shady. So basically, but you don't want to do too much, because then too much is like it's over edited and not really it's not real, which is kind of what we're going for here. We don't want to deceive people. And then sharpening. I always stick with this a lot, because sometimes if you sharpen it too much, then like if you look at my pants or my shorts there, like it gets kind of grainy. So you want to avoid it getting too grainy and too noisy. There's kind of a sweet spot on every one, depending on the lighting and the ISO that was shot at. And the brilliance, I can pump that up. Another thing that'll catch a lot of people's attention, so if it's too dark, then people won't really see it on their screen and they won't stop to see what you're posting. So I kind of make it a little bit brighter so it catches them. And then the saturation, bring that down. See how the saturation is kind of screwing my skin color up? If I bring the saturation down, I'm a little bit flatter, but then I can go back to the hue and I can add a little bit back of like the skin color, so it's not so like pale to the point where I'm like a fucking vampire. And then what else are we gonna do here? We've got vignette. You got a little bit of vignette just to kind of have a little bit of a cinematic look to it. The corners here. Bada bing, bada boom. And now that that is done, there's not too much else I could do. I mean, the skin color is still kind of pissing me off, I'm not gonna lie. So I might have to dick around with the temperature again, just a little bit, just so it's not so like, yeah, maybe there. And then maybe try the white slider too, just to see if that changes anything. I'm like way too bright now. No, somewhere like there-ish, I would say. And then from there, you can try to screw with the shadows a little bit more, just to get a little bit more definition in what you're doing. But you don't want to go too much again, just a little bit. So now that that is done, now I'm going to go for the intro, which is, it's subjective to people, but I feel like there is a pattern interrupt, because people are scrolling up and down. So what I like to do is I like to put a side swipe in, if I can find one here. Like, boom. No, maybe that. I'll go with that. Or let's find some other side swipers. Just because you see how I'm scrolling down through these, this is what people are doing on their screen, and I'm trying to kind of pattern interrupt their swiping as low key as I can, but without making the video look all fucked up. And then we'll just keep it like that because boom, pop in. And then near the end, I like to do something else, like just a little out, whatever that is, kind of depending on the motion I'm doing at the end there. Let's find one. Or what you could do is you could do another slide and then make it kind of loop back into the start. So that it's like, get rid of that. And then when it comes to exporting, there's a bunch of different options here. We've got 1080, 4K. I always go to 4K. And I try to avoid the Ultra HD. This bitrate thing is basically better image quality, so I go all the way up because better image quality, why not? And if you export it with the HD on, it takes way longer, and sometimes it makes it look cool, sometimes it doesn't. So I like to do kind of a test. I do both just to see what looks better. Press export, and away we go. And then we'll go to the songs that you choose, because the songs are actually a pretty big part of it. Every time I pick my own songs, it doesn't really do that well, but if I pick trending audios, it seems to do a lot better, but the trending audios are really shit, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, though. There we go on Instagram. Upload reel. Get this shit out of the way. Reel. Boom. Hopefully there's no bad things in there. Perfect. And then trending audio. We go through the trending audio, but it's gonna be like Google Music usually. You know what? I might just do that one just because it's trending the most right now. And I fuck with this. And then try to. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom, and that's basically it. Okay, so now we've edited it, and now we're in a different program because, in my opinion, this doesn't look as sharp or punchy as it could. So what I like to do is I bring it into the Lightroom app, and then I like to do some extra adjustments and make this the thumbnail. So now that I've got myself masked, I can make it a little bit sharper, more punchy and crisp. It might not be that crisp in the video, but it's kind of just the initial thing that gets people's attention to watch the video without making it look a little too intense. Dehaze helps a lot sometimes. See how it's like actually bringing the blacks to the point where they look normal-ish again. The contrast is a little too high in my opinion because I'm getting that like kind of like glowy look. So sometimes I'll bring it back just a tad so it's a little bit more real looking. And then the highlights too. Sometimes if you bring the highlights up, you lose detail. Sometimes if you bring them way too low, then you're the image just doesn't look as clear as it should. And then pump the exposure up just a little bit so it pops out. So it's like you're kind of separating yourself from the background a little bit better. And then colors, temperature. So I'm going to take that little bit of weird hue out of there. And the tint can sometimes make all the difference depending on where you're at in the edit. Feels like every time I move it, it's just getting worse. So I'm just going to go right back to 0. Maybe a little more red. Just a little bit, but not like a hair, not like something that's crazy. There we go. Saturation, maybe a little bit more saturation, just to kind of add some skin color back into it. And then moire down, defringe down. This basically just adds more detail into the image. And then if you really wanted to be shiesty with people, you could go like this, edit, and go to optics. And see this lens correction? You can kind of distort the image back and forth if you really wanted to, but I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's what a lot of people end up doing, just to kind of make their things a little bit more heavy hitting to people. And bada bing, bada boom, there we go. We have the thumbnail. Save that to my device, and then we'll be using that as the thumbnail. And then when it comes to tagging, some of these tags will have way more tags than others, so the hashtags really don't make the biggest difference at the end of the day. And another thing you might want to check on is the options. Sometimes this upload to highest quality option won't be set, so you want to click that over like I have here. There's also this gifts button that kind of, oh, there we go, allow gifts on this reel. I have no idea what the hell this does, but you can allow gifts and get, oh, we got 5 cents of approximate earnings. You can allow gifts and go back to the options, and then away you go. There's a post for you. Maybe add location to Ultraflex. We're in LA for this one. I live in Canada, so for me it was like, woo, we're in LA. But yeah, that's about that. And then you hit post.